This meeting to order. Mr. Sergeant at Arms, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? George, you have a flag?
I do indeed, right here.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance
To the
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with justice and liberty for all.
Justice for all.
Including George. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to our meeting tonight. And I am looking forward to hearing from all of you in different capacities. Please welcome with me our Toastmaster for the evening, George Hazard.
Yay!
Thank you, thank you. Okay, I think all the people that signed up for stuff are here, but let me run through the roles and make sure that we have something covered. I'm always wrong, always wrong. All right. David, you're going to be our grammarian, is that correct?
Yes.
And do you have a word of the day?
Yeah. Ameliorate, which means to improve or make better.
Very good. Ameliorate. Oh, and if we do get a guest on, explain your role. If we had a guest on, I'd ask you to explain your role. So if Leslie comes on, we'll do that as we move through. Ameliorate. Let's see. Can you use that in a sentence for me?
Let's see.
You having a thunderstorm?
No.
I was going to say that my thunderstorm here has ameliorated the hot temperatures. Why do you?
Oh, yes. Yes, that's a good sentence.
Okay. All right, so we try to use that, especially in table topics.
Okay.
I don't know if I told you, but after I left Cheyenne, I went to a club down in Mesa, Arizona. And when you did table topics, you could not sit down until you used the word of the day. That's a challenge for a guy.
Some clubs won't allow you to compete in table topics, so they won't put your name up unless you use the word of the day.
Wow.
We've never been that strict.
Wow. But it's a challenge. Oh, we don't have anybody for a dry cocktail, do we?
Here's your chance to use your list, George.
Yeah, I'm trying to think right off the top of my head. I don't know if I did this one on you. Okay, here's our dry cocktail. A little boy stop me if you have heard this one. A little boy went to his dad and said, "Dad, where'd we come from?" And Dad says, "Well, first it was Adam and Eve, and they came, and then they had children, and then those children had children, and eventually it came to us." Well, the little boy happened to go into the kitchen and ask Mom the same question. And Mom says, "Well, first there were monkeys, and then they slowly developed into people, and that's where we came from." And the little boy ran back into the living room where his dad was and said, Dad, you lied to me. Mom says we came from monkeys." And Dad says, "Oh, that's her side of the family."
That's cute.
Yeah, thank you. You hadn't heard it, right?
No, I hadn't heard that. That one actually is really, really good.
Okay.
I like that one.
Now, let's just make sure. Janice, you're all set for table topics? Rena, in addition to giving a speech today, you are going to be the general evaluator?
Yes.
Okay. And Janice, you're going to be evaluator 1. Evaluator 2, let's see. You want George for that? We don't have one. Okay. George will evaluate. Oh, okay. So let's see. Janice, you're evaluating Stephanie, and I'll evaluate Rena. Did I have that right?
Yes.
Okay, will do. Jeanette, your timing?
I am. I'm getting my clock ready as we speak.
And how are you going to tell us when time's up?
Okay, when your time is up, basically hang on a second here. I need to fix something. There we go. So when your time gets to your minimum time, I am going to hold up one finger right in front of my face. So you just have to kind of watch me. Okay. When your time gets to the middle, I'm going to put up 2 fingers. When it's at the end and you need to cut it off, I'm going to put up 3. So I'll have 3. And then when your time is done and you've gone beyond that 30 seconds beyond your time, I'll just take my hand down. And that means you went too long.
Very good. Thank you. All right, grammarian all the way through. Did I miss anything? And the inspiration is do we do one? You have one? If you want, I can play a 1-minute video at the end of, oh gosh, a famous actor. Or, well, I've got one. If you'll allow me to play one at the end, inspirational. Yes, I'm a TikTok fanatic, and I watch a lot of TikTok. And they're so inventive on there. But some things are motivational, some are just show off, or some are just straight out talent, but always interesting. So let's get it started. Let's see, do we have our first speaker present? We do. Our first speaker is going to be Stephanie, and she's talking from her on the pathway, and I really appreciate both of you having your pathways entry on at Free Toast, because then your evaluators could have just downloaded the evaluation form for you.
That's right.
As well as having an introduction. And I'm in a new club over here. One of my clubs is a newer one, and they don't know what an introduction is, or they don't realize they really should have it. Okay, now getting back to Stephanie. You're getting all primed up because she is going to give us a speech about change that she's implementing in her agency. Now, the name of the speech is Change in the Older Blind Program. The service delivery model of one of the programs she oversees is changing, and she'll be explaining the change in this evening's speech. So please help me welcome Stephanie with Change in the Older Blind Program.
Yay!
Now I'm going to mute anybody that's not muted.
Stephanie, you're muted.
There we go. We'll start again. After many years of contracting the independent living for older individuals that are blind program with Wyoming Independent Living, the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation is changing directions. Starting October 1st, Vision Outreach Services with the Department of Education will be providing the same services. This will ameliorate some of our issues of having a statewide reach. This will allow more statewide reach, particularly in Western Wyoming, where services have been very limited. Vision Outreach Services will provide many or most of the same services: magnification assessment and magnifiers, glare assessment and glare protection, extra lighting, handheld electronic magnifiers and CCTVs, assistive technology, and they will also build community capacity for older individuals that are experiencing vision loss. We will continue to partner with Wyoming Independent Living for the cross-disability, cross-age, independent living for individuals with disabilities. Wyoming Independent Living will continue to exist. Vocational rehabilitation, Vision Outreach Services, and Wyoming Independent Living are working together for a smooth transition between the two agencies. The key will be for good timing. Wyoming Independent Living will continue to provide services all the way through September 30th. So we don't want people to stop referring just because there is going to be a change in service provider. So in September, Wyoming Independent Living will be sending letters to eye care providers, so basically the optometrists and ophthalmologists, senior citizen centers, and other service agencies, so social service agencies, and other community service providers, a letter explaining that beginning October 1st, Vision Outreach Services will be providing the Older Blind program. This will provide for less confusion for eye care providers in the future. In the past, there were two different agencies that eye care providers could have referred people to. Now there will be just one. Wyoming Independent Living will also let the other service providers know that they will still be there for their other programs and other disability-related services. Many of the consumers are repeat consumers because they have new needs come up or new goals come up. So Wyoming Independent Living will also send a letter to the consumers that have been closed in the past year to let them know that if new needs or goals come up, to contact Vision Outreach Services. In September, Wyoming Independent Living will be letting their consumers know that beginning on October 1st, Vision Outreach Services will begin providing the services. The consumers will be signing a release or declination form. A consumer could decide that they have completed all of their goals and have their case closed. They will sign a declination form. Or the consumer may decide they may continue only doing some skills training or peer support with Wyoming Independent Living. They will also sign a declination form. Or a consumer could decide that they will go ahead and transfer to Vision Outreach Services. They will sign a release. Those that sign a release will have the eye report from the eye care professional and contact information and case notes, copies of case notes sent to Vision Outreach Services. A consumer could also decide to transfer to Vision Outreach Services, but also have services with Wyoming Independent Living, such as skills training and peer support. So they will also sign the release. If there are any consumers that have complex vision needs, Vision Outreach Services can start to work with Wyoming Independent Living and the consumer in September to have a smoother transition. We will continue to have a relationship with Wyoming Independent Living with the Independent Living Program, which serves all individuals with disabilities on a cross-disability, cross-age basis. There is potential for collaboration between Wyoming Independent Living and Vision Outreach Services. in building community capacity. We look forward to the continued partnership with Wyoming Independent Living, and we look forward to the new partnership with Vision Outreach Services in serving older individuals that are experiencing vision loss. This is exciting. We'll see this ameliorate many outreach issues and serving the state. That we are very excited for the change. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Stephanie. Now, let's see. I don't know if you practice it in this club, but I've seen other clubs where we take 1 minute. And Jeanette, if you can just time 1 minute and send Stephanie a message. Or as one Toastmaster said, send her some love. So you can send her something over in the private chat and just, it's our way of sending those little slips of paper that we used to pass around. Remember those? Not the ones in 5th grade, mind you, but the.
Yep. We get encouraged to pass notes in Toastmasters. Oh, and I need to close a drape.
That is 1 minute, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Now, let me turn my paper over. We have a second speaker today. And this young lady is working on her pathways from effective coaching. And so she's on level 3. And the name, so it's a 5 to 7 minute speech. And the name of her speech is The Place Behind the Stories. The Place Behind the Stories. Rena McCoy, let's hear it.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So 3 years ago, back in September of 2017, a very dear friend of mine called me up, and she was just in tears. She was sobbing. She had purchased a 50th wedding anniversary gift for her husband. And when she gave it to him, he refused. And she had purchased a trip for them so that they could travel together. And said she was very upset. And she asked me if I would like to accompany her on her trip. I can't tell you how excited I was when she told me that the trip was to Ireland. Ireland is my bucket list trip. It's the place I've wanted to go forever. So I called up her travel agent right away and booked my spot on the tour. And just 3 weeks later, we were off on our grand adventure. From the time that I was just a little girl, I was always intrigued by the stories and the history of Ireland. The magic, the leprechauns and the fairies, the legends, the history, the myth, and the mystery. I have to tell you that from the moment that the wheels of the plane kissed the ground in Dublin to the day that we flew home from Shannon, I was completely wrapped in the web of Ireland's beauty and history and people. From the language and music to its history, the brogue, when you hear someone speak in their Irish brogue, it was enchanting. On the first day of our trip, we made a stop at Trinity College Library. Doesn't sound like a really exciting thing to go and visit unless you're a book lover, and I am. So I was very excited to be going. As you go into the lower level of the library, it was so congested and incredibly loud. There were people buzzing everywhere. It was like a hive of bees. It was hard to see some of the different artifacts and some of the things that they had there on display. It is truly loaded with symbol and history, symbols of the past. The Book of Kells is one of those. The Book of Kells is an ancient illuminated manuscript that it contains the 4 Gospels of the New Testament. It also included Brian Boru's harp, and it was just amazing to see. But as you work your way from the lower level up to the top level, you go to the long room, which is a long, narrow room constructed of rich, dark wood. It is filled with several alcoves. They're arched alcoves down the sides of this long hall. The alcoves are filled with books and manuscripts, and they're ancient and they're amazing. Of course, you can't go like our library and thumb through them, but you can see the beautiful books. Down each side of this hallway, there are busts of famous, important people from throughout history. The room smells of wood and old paper and leather. And as I stood there in that room, the people and the noise disappeared. It was truly a moment that took my breath away. As we headed back to our rooms to prepare for supper, we were walking, and the street musicians were out in force. There were musicians, not just on every street corner, but in every big doorway. There were several on each block. The lilt and the timbre of the music made my toes just tap. And I loved throughout my trip, I was amazed by how they used their feet as part of their music. They'll clack and snap like castanets or stomp the beat like a drum. So their feet are very much a part of their music. As we stopped to listen to one particularly talented group, an older gentleman from our tour bus spun me around in a lively little jig. This little person from nowhere, Wyoming, I was dancing in the streets of Dublin. My heart was pretty full that day. A few days later, we found ourselves on the cliffs of Moher. It was cool and cloudy, and rain had fallen intermittently throughout the morning. Once again, I was just in awe of the beauty. I never dreamed that there could be so many different shades of green. It's like getting the giant box of crayons that you wanted as a little kid, and when you open the lid, it's just full of different shades of green. And the water that day ranged from a soft and cool turquoise to a very dark and intimidating, almost black. We could see for miles. As we walked along the top of the cliffs and admired the view, a musician began to play on his pipe, a haunting and very beautiful rendition of Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound. It truly gave me goosebumps and made me cry. That moment is indelibly inked in my memory. Later in our journey, we were in the beautiful town of Killarney. I was enthralled with the thatched roofs, and we saw people cutting Irish turf or peat. When we arrived at the hotel, the heat in my room wasn't working appropriately, and I called to have them come and help me, but they moved me. And the room that they moved me to, I am sure it was meant for royalty. The room was beautiful, had rich and luxurious fabrics, warm, inviting colors, a fireplace with a crackling fire, a balcony that opened out into the garden. And the garden was beautiful, had amazing colors. The air was crisp and cool and carried the aroma of misty rain, salt water, and peat fires. I wanted to bottle that smell and bring it home with me. The last stop on our trip took us to an area just outside of Cheyenne, where we stayed in a beautiful castle for a couple of days. One crisp fall afternoon, I went to the secret garden. It was located just outside the castle walls. And as I pushed open this really heavy wooden door, I stepped into the garden from my dreams. There was a cottage back in the corner, and there was this stream that was laughing and babbling the length of the garden. There was this beautiful kitten playing. He was playing with butterflies and chasing bugs. The leaves were turning crimson and copper and gold, and it was beautiful. And I sat down and I started to write. And from that day, many beautiful stories have been written and shared with my grandchildren. As I've written, I write stories of beauty and mystery, tears and laughter, morals and values and life lessons. And I share them over and over as I prepare them for publication. And soon, I hope to take my family there so that they can see the place behind the stories. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rena. That was very good. And I'll tell you more because I'm your evaluator when time comes. So everyone want to give us 1 minute, Jeanette, and let's send a message over to Rena, who now is glad that she's finished. Oops.
That's 1 minute, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. But I gotta finish. All right. No, and I just might be finished because now we're gonna turn to the next portion of our meeting, and that is impromptu speaking, led by none other than our very own Janice Haldy. Let's hear it, Janice. I can't hear you, Janice.
I know I couldn't get the unmute out of there. Okay, I'm ready now. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. Tonight's table topics are ones that we will all participate in because I think that this is important for us as a club to understand these ideas. These are table topics I did a couple of weeks ago with Roadmasters, Toastmasters, so Stephanie, you'll be familiar with this. However, I think it's important to understand why we joined Toastmasters and what we are doing with it and where we want to go. So I will ask you several questions, all of you, the same questions, and ask you to respond to those. The first one will be, why did you join Toastmasters? The second one is, why do you stay involved in Toastmasters? And the third one is, what can we do to help you achieve your goals? So let me ask you, David, as the first I want to say victim, but the first participant. I was there the night that you were, in a sense, forced into joining Toastmasters, but why don't you tell us really why you joined, why you stay in, and what your goals are that we can help you with.
Well, that's an interesting question. That requires some further evaluation, but I guess I stand because we're Toastmasters family. I joined initially because I loved the atmosphere of this club, that where there would always be food. I am a foodie, and I guess my primary goal would be to become more comfortable, I guess. So that's my spiel.
And how can we help you with your goals, David?
I'm not actually sure. I'm not the greatest collaborator, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know yet.
Okay. Thank you. And if you think of anything later, let me know. Okay. Jeanette, I know you are busy timing, but why don't you answer those questions? Why did you join? What are your goals? And how can we help you?
Okay, my answer to that question, now that I'm not muted anymore, and I can do a much more ameliorated job of speaking. I don't even know if I used that correctly, but hey, I tried. Anyway, I joined Toastmasters because Gordon, who Janice knows, and actually probably most of you know, asked me to. I was interested in speaking, but Gordon really just asked me. And I thought, you know, I am going to come and see what this is all about. And so I came to my first meeting of the Noonshiners in Fort Collins, and I loved it. I loved the people. I loved the environment. And I'm going to kind of piggyback off of something David said. I could see that this was truly a family. And at that point, that was something that was very appealing to me and was important to me. So I joined that Toastmasters group. And then I stay involved, honestly, to some degree for the exact same reason, because it's a family. And once you're a family, you're always a family. And it's really hard to walk away from a family. But I also stay involved because I want to be a better speaker. I want to be able to speak clearly and succinctly and really more confidently. And ultimately, I would really like to be someone who speaks to inspire others. I think that's something I'd really like to do. So what can you do to help me with my goals before my time runs out? I would love for you guys just to hold me accountable, encourage me, and I guess be a second family for me, since I already have the one group that I belong to, but be a second family for me. So that is what I would like.
Thank you very much, Jeanette. I think we can probably all identify with that. Mr. Toastmaster George, same three questions. Why did you join? Goals.
Why did I join? Why am I still a Toastmaster? And what can be done to help me along my way? Well, I don't know if you heard this story, why I became a Toastmaster many years ago, Janice. You know, it was back in 2008. I was a branch manager of this place in Cheyenne, and I wanted to become a district manager. And I interviewed, and in that interview, it was a phone interview, but I had 10 people on that interview asking questions. And then I didn't get that position. But afterward, I went through a debriefing with the HR manager. And he said, why don't you join Toastmasters? He said that he had been a Toastmaster for 22 years. That's what prompted me to walk into High Noon Toastmasters that Tuesday. That's why I joined. I wanted to become or be more employable, I guess, in a higher place. Why do I still come? I'm now retired. Why do I still come? You know, for the social aspect of it, I suppose. You know, I'm in 3 clubs and I really like the people in these 3 clubs. You know, it's nice. It's good to be able to talk to people, especially in this day and age, the COVID era. And the one thing I think that any club could do to to help somebody along or to make sure that they're happy with that club is to be always welcoming, always caring for them. I don't know if you've been in some clubs where they don't exhibit that, where they don't even ask you to say anything for the entire meeting, or even ask your opinion at the end of the meeting. It's like, well, why did I spend any time there? But my 3 clubs are the reason, they're welcoming, including you guys. So thank you. And thank you, Janice.
Thank you, George. Let's see, Rena. I know that you originally joined a semi-corporate club.
Right.
And I know who may have encouraged you to join, but ultimately, why did you really join? What are your goals in terms of why you stay involved, and what can we do to help you?
I have to share just one funny point. You say you think you might know who prompted me to join, but you don't. I actually tried to start a Toastmasters club 2 years before we started our Toastmasters club through our corporation, and corporate would not let us. So getting a Toastmasters club in our area was very much something that was important to me, and I was very excited when Pammy was able to make that happen. I had spent years of my life trying to find my voice, to realize that I had one, and I have some things I want to share with people. I would like to inspire others to find their voice. I joined Toastmasters to help me cultivate the voice that I had found. I wanted to be able to use my voice very effectively so that I can help others, so that I can inspire them, help them achieve the things that they want in life. I have not been in Toastmasters all that long, so I stay in because I still have a lot of things to work on. I still have a lot of amelioration. I don't know if that's even a word, but I have a lot of things to work on as far as becoming a very good speaker. It is something that I would like to do professionally in my retirement. So I look to you guys to help me become better, challenge me, help me to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Rena. Stephanie, it is your turn. Why did you join? Why do you stay in? What are your goals? And what can we do to help you?
Well, I first joined in Boise in 2010, just before I moved to Cheyenne. I was building what was called a business leadership network, trying to get businesses together to share the advantages of hiring people with disabilities. And 2 people said, well, ended up being 3 people said, go join Toastmasters. So I did. And I was also presenting to professionals about the Medicaid buy-in, a program for people with disabilities to keep the Medicaid and still work. And then I was getting laid off and moved to Cheyenne and come here, different job responsibilities, but here I am, I stay in. And have since been able to use my Toastmasters skills in presenting at national conferences, something that I didn't even consider when I moved here. So some of those goals that I didn't even know I had have been met. And then a year or so ago, I was looking at my speeches that I've given over the last 10 years. I think it was 8 or 9 years at that time. And I looked and I thought, I have a message. I have something I can share. I have something people are interested in. So I find that I have a message, and the evening club allows me the time to work on those messages and to present those messages. And you know, years down the road, I could have some opportunities, second career. And another reason I stay in is welcoming people. People that recognize my achievements, what I'm doing outside of Toastmasters. You know, Janice was the one that was here, you know, a few years ago when I was division governor, and then received Division Governor of the Year. I appreciated that recognition when I received that, and the club celebrated that. So the celebration of achievements, and the way to help me is to continue the celebrations.
That's great. Thank you, everybody, for participating. That is a help know sort of where our baseline is for everyone so that we can move forward. It's my intention, and I'm sure everybody else is here in this group, to ameliorate our progress so that we all are able to achieve the goals that we have set for ourselves, whether it's in the immediate future or if it's a little bit more long range. So thank you all for that. Mr. Toastmaster, I will return control to you. Thank you.
Myself, I have to find myself, and then of course I never think of unmuting down the bottom. And I know there's a shortcut key where we can just, of course we can hit the space bar and temporarily unmute, but I know there's another shortcut key on here that you can just hit it and unmute and mute yourself.
Mr. Master, that's Alt-A.
Alt-A?
Yes.
Okay. Am I muted? Okay, where are we? We are through table topics, and now we're going to get to hear from Rena as she's going to introduce her evaluators, I believe. Rena, let's hear it.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. What a fun meeting we've had so far. So thank you all for participating. Our first evaluator is Janice, and she'll be evaluating Stephanie's speech. So Janice, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Evaluator. I appreciate that. Fellow Toastmasters and Stephanie, it was a delight to listen to and evaluate your speech this evening. There are several things which I think you did really well. One of those was your arm and hand gestures. You were standing up and away from your camera, so that allowed you greater movement, but you really were a lot more expressive tonight than I have seen you for a while. So good job with that and emphasizing the points that you were making. I also felt that your presentation was a bit smoother than what you have been doing lately. There was a lack of ahs and you knows and ums. So really good job with that. I don't know if it's because you practiced your speech more or what, but you really did well with that. That was noticeable. There was no apparent use of notes, although I think you did have some, but it was not an obtrusive thing. So good job with that. And interesting content. I enjoyed listening to what you had to say because I thought it was very interesting. What you might want to work on is an housekeeping thing, and that is find some way to raise your camera up. You're standing there looking down at your camera. It's a little disconcerting to me to see that. I mean, even now your camera is down a lot lower than where your eye level is. So there you go. see it's at eye level. And that's where I think it would be really helpful, because then you're looking directly at the camera, and I feel like you're looking at us rather than just at the camera. And to challenge yourself, this was more of a business speech than I'm used to hearing you give. But you might want to vary your vocal variety a bit more, adding some pauses, greater emphasis on some of your words that you are using to emphasize your points. This is exciting. That was one of the phrases you used towards the end. This is exciting. Well, make it exciting. Let us know that you were excited about it. This is exciting. So that would be something I would encourage you to do. Let's see. I really felt like you could improve a little bit on your eye contact. I mentioned that. Let's see, I think I've covered most of the points that I had on this second sheet. You laid out your need for change and you explained that. I thought that was done really very well so that we could understand what it was you were saying. And you always appear very comfortable with the audience. So good job in presenting this information, helping us understand where your department is changing and how that's going to impact you. And that's my evaluation. Mr. or Madam Joy.
Thank you very much, Janice. We appreciate you sharing information. George, I believe you're going to evaluate me.
That's
so I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
All right, very good. As I quickly silence that phone. Rena, you're on Pathways Effective Coaching, but you took one of the electives, and it was using descriptive language. And you nailed it. I'll give you some examples as I go through this. But you took us straight into the story. You know, because I'm always looking, well, how did they open? How did they close? But you took, and that's one way of opening, is just jumping straight into the story, or yeah, you take us down a path, and that's what you did. And let's see. Your hands, for instance, you were talking about the leprechauns, or you were talking about congestion. But that brings me to something that I think you could have done, is use a little bit of Irish brogue yourself. You've been there, you can do it. So if you do it again, try to throw that in, or just anytime throw it in, because everybody loves an Irish brogue. One other thing I thought you could do, or I was thinking, are we on the side of your computer screen? Where's your camera? Show me your camera. Put your finger on your camera. Okay. I got the sense that you were looking off to the side. Look at your camera right now. Okay. Here's what I do. Sometimes when I'm talking, I keep looking at the people. I keep looking at myself. But I'll take a piece of paper and just put it over the screen, because everybody's right there in the camera. They're not on the screen, really. They're in the camera. So that's how I remind myself to look at the camera directly, because we tend to look down. All of us do it. Okay, now let's get back to the good stuff. You took us in the long room and had our noses smelling the old wood or the old paper. And then you had sounds. You were showing us, or having us hear sounds with the click and the snaps. And then you were using visionary words like the turquoise water. And you took us back over to sound, and you were talking about Amazing Grace. And I'm thinking, amazing. Yeah, you took us there. And then you brought us back. I forget what you were describing. It might have been just the scenery of crimson and copper and gold. So you were using the words, using descriptive language throughout your speech is what I'm trying to say. And then whether you planned it or not, you diced in a little bit of humor with the dancing in the streets. And I wrote down, loved it. And you might think I loved it. I know you loved it, dancing in the streets. That's one of the great memories of your time there. And then you closed it out with your title. And so that just brought it all home again. So I thought you did a very good job. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that evaluation. I think that brings us to a timer's report. Jeanette, were you our timer?
Yes, I was. Thank you, Madam Evaluator. All right. So for the speeches, Stephanie was at 7:14. Rena, why do I not have your time? Oh, 7:31. I do. I just had to look a little harder. At 7:31. And then for the table topics, David was 1 minute and 6 seconds. Myself, I was at 2 minutes and 5 seconds. George was at 1:59. Rena was 1:54. I can't read my own handwriting. I need to ameliorate my handwriting. And Stephanie was at 2:48. Then for the evaluations, Janice was at 3:15 and George was at 3:14.
Thank you very much, Madam Timer, for timing for us. I appreciate that. And then our grammarian, David, did you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to report. It seemed fairly good grammar. I just counted a little bit. Stephanie did have 4 uhs, not too bad. And I'm doing it too. Janet had 2 ums. Rena had 1 word repeat in her table topics, and that's what I got. So it seemed fairly good. So
Thank you very much. We appreciate you taking care of that role for us today. So as far as the overall meeting, again, appreciate everybody's participation. It is always fun when we hear from everybody. So I thought it was a very good meeting. Thank you. And I will turn it back over to our Toastmaster.
That would be me. Hey, remember how I said you had to look at the camera? Did I tell you what I keep right by my camera? Two googly eyes, so I know where the camera is.
I'll have to do that.
It's looking at me. All right, all the way around the block, weren't we? Let's see. Now you got me wanting to speak in Irish brogue all the time. All right, are we on the thought of the day? Are you ready for something different? This is one time you don't see a thought of the day. I want to make sure you hear it. So give me a thumbs up as long as you can hear it. I'm sure you'll be able to see it. All right, and it happens to be none other than Simon Sinek. Let's see, can you, wait, I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna stop.
Here's the lack of empathy. This is
you can't hear
normal in
that,
our
right?
business world. You walk into someone's office, what does empathy look like? What does empathy look like? Here's the lack of empathy. This is normal.
Can you hear me?
I could at least hear even what your whatever you were playing. So
here it is. Okay, here we go. Come on, play. Tell it to play. There it is.
What does empathy look like? Here's the lack of empathy. This is normal in our business world. You walk into someone's office, someone walks into our office and says, your numbers have been down for the 3rd quarter in a row. You have to pick up your numbers, otherwise I can't guarantee what the future will look like. How inspired do you think that person is to come to work the next day? Here's what empathy looks like. You walk into someone's office, someone walks into your office and says, your numbers are down for the 3rd quarter in a row. Are you okay? I'm worried about you. What's going on? We all have performance issues. Maybe someone's kid is sick. Maybe they're having problems in their marriage. Maybe one of their parents is dying. We don't know what's going on in their lives. And of course it will affect performance at work. Empathy is being concerned about the human being, not just their output.
I hope you're all able to hear that okay.
it was good.
Could you hear it? And that kind of goes along with how, Janice, this club could help all of us. We need to be empathetic of what's going on in everybody's life. It's hard because we're carrying our own, but at the same time, we need to reach out to each other and support each other. All right, I'm going to turn it over to our president, who happens to be.
Thank you, Mr. George. I was stunned to see your inspirational thought from Simon Sinek. And that is because I have just been reading his Start With Why book. And that's actually part of what prompted the table topics tonight. I think it's important to understand why we are here, not the what of what our Toastmaster Club is, but why we are a club. One of the things that was pretty universal amongst what you all were saying was that this is a family. We are supportive of one another. We encourage one another. We want to be embraced by our fellow members. And I think if we concentrate on that, we will really send that out into the universe, so to speak, and bring other people in who want to experience that as well. So I encourage you all to be supportive of one another. We do that within our club meeting, but you might want to send out an email sometime during the week and say, I'm just thinking of you, or this is what I thought of your speech, or here's how I heard you and my perception of what you do to do better, that kind of thing. Just something to challenge each one of us and make us feel like we are part of a whole, so that we can bring people in to experience the same things that we do. I think that would be really encouraging for other people. Are there any comments, questions, anything from the peanut gallery for tonight before we close our meeting? Okay. Hearing none, thank you all for being here tonight. It seems like it's been forever since we've had a meeting, so this is really great. I love your dog's tail, Jeanette. I wish you all a good evening, and we will see you again on the 26th.
All right, thank you.
So have a nice night. Stephanie, you had something?
27th.
What? Oh, 27th.
27th, yep.
George,
George,
okay, sorry.
Yep. George, I'd like the video from today's meeting.
You betcha. I'll trim it up and I'll have it ready for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, if you could send that out by email, that would be fabulous.
Well, I can't send it out because it's so big. What I do is I store it over on YouTube, and I can send you the private email, the private URL address of it. And then you can just go view it.
Awesome.
That would be nice.
That'd be great.
Now I can do it the two speakers I can break out, so that way you'll have your own video. So